Okay, so we had 3,000 entries and we had 3 judges. And so each of us went through every single image over a period of a couple of weeks, you know, a lot of emails, a lot of phone calls, a lot of Skype conversations. And we kind of narrowed it down to roughly 140 was the kind of semi-final stage. And so from that 140, then the kind of work really starts to get that down to the 30, which is probably the hardest thing actually, because you can get it down to 50 or 60 very quickly, but getting it down to 30 takes some negotiation. Well, you have a broad kind of outline of the theme of the award. So it has to fit the theme of, you know, contemporary Australian photography. So that's the key thing. And then it's, for me, it's the aesthetic. And so you do that. And then it's kind of, once you've got past that, it's kind of, does the picture really talk to you? Does it mean anything to you? Do you get an emotion when you look at it? What do you feel? And some pictures change over time. Some pictures that you choose early on, when you go back, they kind of don't really have that same resonance. So it's a number of things. Both myself and Cheryl have judged awards all over the world. You know, it's not something we're new to. We've done it with international photography for years and years and years. So the counterpoint to that is having an Australian judge. And Rafaela was absolutely essential for that because she was able to kind of just push back occasionally and just let us know what she thought. And so between the 3 of us, I think we kind of got to where we needed to be. There were no trends, there were no patterns that we kind of recurring themes, there was nothing like that. It was just, I'll tell you what it was. It was a very high standard this year, and there was some amazing photography, which surprised us, you know, because it was much better than I remembered. It's changed some of the technical aspects, obviously, because there are pictures you can take now that are impossible to take on film, just through the actual technological side of digital. It's opened up photography to more people. You know, in the old days, cameras, film, it's a very expensive way of trying to do a hobby. These days, everyone has a camera, everyone can shoot pictures. But it also, you know, it's kind of become more democratic in some respects. All 3 of us, all 3 of the judges had our favourites. And there are half a dozen pictures in this exhibition that I would not have been unhappy had they won. So choosing the overall winner, incredibly difficult, really, really difficult. And I think we've got it right. Each of the judges had very strong opinions about who they wanted to win. And so we got there in the end. My thing, I really enjoy composition. You know, I like clean, simple, well-observed composition. It's got to be technically very good. I like a picture, or I like photography that I can keep looking at, that I can look at again and again and again. And some pictures you get tired of very quickly, and other pictures they're a slow burn, and the more you look at them, the more you get. And that type of photography, I think, is very important. It's what I'm particularly drawn to. This year, there is more portraiture than you would expect. It's a symbiotic relationship, isn't it, between the photographer and the subject. And it's how that relationship, that dynamic, how that is portrayed and how it's used within the picture. And some photographers do it incredibly well. And you can see there is a relationship between the photographer and the subject. Others, not so good. And you can see that too. And that's why the more successful portrait work kind of it's almost like it's a sympathetic relationship. Absolutely, there are times when taking a portrait of something that, you know, you may not agree with morally, or you may not agree with socially, or whatever, that flips that argument on its head straight away, and you have to take your portrait. But you're doing it for a different reason then. Your connection's slightly different because you're always trying to make a statement then about, you know, their viewpoint and your viewpoint. My advice would be to shoot what's close to home, shoot what you love, because you can always tell. You can always tell if the photographer has an affinity with the subject. And if you just want to go out and take pictures and you don't really care about it, then that comes through your work. If you're really passionate about a particular subject, and you go and document that, that comes through. So I would say, shoot what you love and make sure you enter. All the judging is anonymous, so we have no idea who the photographers are. So we didn't know that some of these pictures, or some of the photographers, had multiple images. You can kind of see through the style and the subject matter, but we didn't know. So we couldn't say, oh, well, you know, he's got so-and-so, he's got how many, you know. They're just good entries.